What is our favorite question to ask God? It's one word. Why? See, right to the point. Why? Why does God let bad things happen? Why do people that we love die? Why do people die in general? Why doesn't God just fix it? Right? We would really like to know. Right? How many of you have been to a funeral? Yeah. So by the way, you see that? Put your hands up again, boys. Sometimes we say death isn't a thing that children should know. Baloney. You know. What are we going to do? Lie to you? But we want to know why. Why do people die? Did you notice that Mary and Martha, they really want to ask that question? Except they don't. They skip it. They skip right to telling him the truth. Do you remember what Martha says to him when she goes out and finds him on the road? Did you hear? What did she say? She says, if you were here, he wouldn't have died. She doesn't even ask why. She just says, if you had come, he wouldn't have died. Right? This is a hard gospel. Even though we know the end of the story, it's a hard gospel. And Jesus doesn't answer the question, does he? He doesn't say, oh, I was delayed. I couldn't make it. He doesn't give any excuses. He tells her, your brother will rise again. He says, death isn't the last word. And she says, I know that. I know he will rise again at the last day. I know. That doesn't make me feel better now, but I know. So far, these people are just telling the truth. She tells him, if you had come, he wouldn't have died. He tells her, this isn't the end, he'll rise again. She says, I know that. I believe that. And he says, there's one more piece of truth for you. I am the resurrection and the life. Whoever believes in me, even though he dies, yet shall he live. And the one who believes in me, indeed, he says, will never die. Do you believe this? And she says, okay, I believe. We still haven't got an answer to that question that we want to ask. Why? Now let's think about Lazarus for a moment. Okay? How many times does Lazarus have to die? Hold it up. Mitri, you got it right. Hold it high. How many times does everybody else have to die? Just once. But poor Lazarus here, he gets to die. He gets to die. He has to die twice. Why? To make a point. In a sense, to tell us Why? Okay? Now, is there anybody who doesn't have to die? Even then. Everybody who lives will die. This we know. And sometimes we want to say what Mary and Martha say, Lord, if you had been here, then the bad thing wouldn't have happened yet. But we also know it's not quite fair. Fair isn't the right word, but it's not quite okay to ask to escape this completely. We'd like to, right? Nobody ever has to die. Sounds good to me. Sounds good to you? You'd be okay with that. We think. I might suggest play with that. Think about the actual life you live, day after day after day after day after day, without any end or any change or any fix, for hundreds of years and thousands of years and millions of years and billions of years. This starts to be a little bit tiring, right? But still, not yet. We can agree on the not yet, right? And we want to know why. So here is the answer that I think the Lord gives to us. No one asks the question. Jesus doesn't give the answer, but I think it's here. All of us have to die because we've sinned, because our lives are broken, because we couldn't bear to live forever. Something just isn't right. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be healed. And there's one person who has the power to heal it, to fix it, to make everything right. And we would really, really like it if Jesus would come and snap his finger and say, okay, now your life is good. Now everything is perfect. Now you can live forever and actually enjoy it. But that's not the message. That's not the way of it. First we die, and then we are raised. And what is sown, what is buried in corruption, as St. Paul says, is raised up incorruptible, perfect, beautiful, and right. This is what death becomes for us, because Christ is using our oldest enemy. He's conquered it. He's beaten it. Some of the icons show death tied up and trussed like a lamb about to be killed. Okay? It's not here. Just we show the locks and the doors. But Jesus has taken death and he has made it the instrument of our salvation. Because on the other side of death is the resurrection. So when Jesus comes to Bethany today, late, having allowed Lazarus to die, he raises him up, not to incorruption. He just gives him his life back until he dies of old age. Like we say, he has to die twice. But he shows that he has power over death. He shows that with everything that's coming down the next several days, the betrayal and the whipping and the crown of thorns and the suffering and the bleeding and the humiliation and the cross and death and burial, all of this that's coming, he's showing us that he is going willingly. He doesn't have to go. Because all he has to do to raise the dead is speak a word, and the dead man comes out. Lazarus, Jesus' friend, today helps him preach a sermon and teach a lesson. Jesus has power over death, and he uses that power over death to heal us and give us everlasting life. So that when a Christian dies, we're sad. We grieve. We miss the person who's gone. And that's right, and as it should be. But we don't grieve like we have no hope, because we know that Jesus is the Lord of the living and of the dead, and he has taken death and turned it into the doorway into everlasting life. Which means we don't hope that our loved ones who have died are in heaven. We know they are. We hope and we look forward to the day of the resurrection. Not that we will see them again up in heaven, but that they will be raised. Like Lazarus, but better. Not raised to die again, but raised to everlasting life. So sometimes, I know we can look and say, well, why can't Jesus do for me what he did for Mary and Martha? Why can't he raise my papu, my sister, my yaya? Why can't he bring them back? And let's remember Lazarus again. Because Lazarus still had to die. He hadn't yet tasted everlasting life. We don't want that for our loved ones. They're at peace. They're okay. And we know that all of us together, when the Lord returns, he will make everything whole and right. So we can wait. We can wait. Because we know the end of the story. What that means then, on a very practical note, is we do something weird today. We celebrate Sunday on Saturday. This is the Sunday liturgy. Tomorrow is not the Sunday liturgy. It's Palm Sunday. It's a feast day. It's a whole different thing. Today we celebrate the resurrection. So, since it's Sunday, even though it's Saturday, it's kind of funny. You can laugh at it. But let's stand up and continue the liturgy.